In a small town called Poto, there lived a beautiful girl called Nneka. Unlike her siblings, who were all beautiful, handsome, and academically intelligent, Nneka wasn't as beautiful and had the lowest grades in school. Her teachers disliked her because she was very slow in learning, and she had only one friend called Ozioma. Ozioma was more intelligent and attractive than Nneka was, but she admired Nneka's humility and personality. When Ozioma first arrived at St. John's Community School, Nneka was the first person who offered her a seat beside her when the other students refused, and since then, they have been the best of friends. Everyone disliked Nneka and called her a dullard. Her parents at home weren't any different. They treated Nneka differently because she always took the last position in class. When her siblings came home celebrating with very good grades, they would mock Nneka because they knew she always came last in class. At the end of each term in school, Nneka would lock herself inside her room and cry her eyes out. Her parents always bought gifts for her siblings because they did well in school, but all they gave Nneka was always scoldings and mockery. Nneka had no one she could talk to except Ozioma, and Ozioma would always console her. Don't think too much about it, Nneka. There are other ways to succeed in life. The fact that you are not academically gifted doesn't mean you are a failure. Tell that to my mother and father. They call me a disappointment and a disgrace. My younger ones are all doing well in school, but the opposite is my case. Don't let their words weigh you down. Instead of being discouraged, fight hard to prove them wrong. Don't show them that they are right about you. There has to be something you are very good at. Nneka thanked Ozioma for the kind words, and she went home and thought hard about what Ozioma had said. She thought deep and hard. The next day, Nneka told her father that she would like to learn how to sew clothes. Papa, please, I would love to learn how to sew clothes. After school every day, I want to go to a tailor shop and learn how to sew. Nneka's father laughed heartily at her statement. He looked at her with surprise and told her, "You think I pluck money from trees? You find it difficult to pass your examinations in school, yet you want me to pay for you to learn tailoring. If you are learning in school, then how can you sew?" Nneka pleaded with her father to assist her, but he bluntly refused. She met her mother and pleaded for assistance, but her mother equally pushed her away. As usual, Nneka went to her room and started crying. She asked herself if they were truly her parents. While she cried, she remembered the words Ozioma told her and she stopped crying. She told herself that crying wouldn't solve her problems, so she decided she would do anything she can to raise the money and learn how to sew. Every day after school hours, Nneka would go to the market and offer to help random customers carry their goods on her head to their houses. The market women were impressed by her humility, so they would always seek her services. Many of them paid her more than they bargained because she was very simple and understanding. Nneka did this without her parents' knowledge. She bought a small box in which she saved the little money she got, and after some months, Nneka was able to save up the required amount and she started learning how to sew in secret. Ozioma supported her, and each time Nneka's parents asked her where Nneka was, Ozioma would lie to them. She would tell them that Nneka was with her at home studying for their exams. One day, Nneka's father was on his way back from work when he saw Nneka in a tailor shop. He confronted the owner of the shop and she told him that Nneka had paid the tutorial fees and had been learning for some months. Nneka's father became very furious. He slapped Nneka in front of everyone and sent her home. When he got home, He accused Nneka of stealing his money and sent her out of his house. Nneka's mother returned from the market, but then she saw her husband taking Nneka's things outside the house. She quickly rushed to stop him. "Please, my husband, don't do this. No matter her offense, please forgive her. This bastard stole my money and paid for a tailoring tutorial. This orphan went against my word. She's a complete failure that can't amount to anything in life. Please take it easy, my husband. Forgive her. I will pay you for whatever she stole from you. I don't need your money and I don't need her. She's not my daughter. I can't continue raising another man's child. I want her to leave my house this instant." Nneka couldn't believe her ears. She was very confused. Ever since she could talk, she had referred to him as her father. He was the only father that she knew. So she didn't understand what he meant by raising another man's child. Nneka stood and watched as her mother tried to plead with her father to forgive her. After watching hopelessly for a while, Nneka picked up her things and left the compound. Her mother tried to run after her, but Nneka's father screamed at the top of his voice, "If you go with her, then go and remain with her. Do not ever step foot in this house again." Immediately, Nneka's mother heard his words. She froze where she stood and watched in pain as Nneka walked away. Nneka went to meet Ozioma, her friend. She wept and told Ozioma what had happened, but Ozioma couldn't help her because Ozioma's parents didn't know Nneka too well. Nneka had no choice, so she went to meet the lady from which she learns tailoring from. She narrated her story to the woman and begged her to accommodate her. The woman felt pity for Nneka and took her in. Every morning, Nneka would wake up very early, help the woman with the chores and the shop. Ozioma equally came every day after school to see Nneka. The woman felt very impressed with how diligent Nneka was. So one day, she asked Nneka, "You've been staying with me for weeks now, and your parents haven't come looking for you. What about your education? Don't you want to go to school anymore?" My father clearly told me that I am not his daughter, and my mother didn't argue with him when he said that. I'm not intelligent, and I'm sure my father has stopped paying my school fees. I admire the way you've been handling everything since you started living with me. You are a very fast learner, but I cannot be selfish. I want you to go back to school, but a different school. I will continue teaching you how to sew, and I will also pay your school fees. At some point in your life, you would need a basic education certificate. Nneka thanked the woman for her kindness and promised that she would do her best to improve in her academics and make the woman proud. Nneka continued going to school, and whenever she returned, she would continue learning how to sew. 2 years later, Nneka didn't hear from her parents, and they didn't search for her either. She learned all there was to learn about sewing and also got her high school certificate. Ozioma, her friend, equally got her certificate and went to the big city to further her education. The woman trusted Nneka so much that she comfortably left her in charge of the shop, and whenever customers came to have their clothes made, most of them insisted that they want Nneka to make their dresses. As time went on, the woman started harboring hatred and envy towards Nneka because most of her clients preferred Nneka. Many of them would rather wait for Nneka to be done with whatever dress she was sewing instead of giving it to the woman. This made the woman very bitter, and one day she falsely accused Nneka and sent her out of the house. Nneka pleaded and pleaded, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. She left the woman's house and was unable to go back home, and she had nowhere else to go. She remembered Ozioma and placed a call through to her. "Hello, who am I speaking with?" It's your best friend, Nneka." They exchanged pleasantries and Nneka asked her for help. "I don't have anywhere else to go. My master falsely accused me and sent me out of her house. Please, can you help me?" Ozioma felt pity for Nneka once again and asked her to come and live with her in the city. Nneka used her little savings and boarded a bus to the city. When she got to Ozioma's house, it was a studio apartment, but it was wide enough to accommodate the both of them. She thanked Ozioma once again for her generosity, and the next day, she went out in search of a job. She was fortunate to find a fashion designer who needed a worker. She quickly applied for the post. She presented her school certificate to the employer and did some tests on a sewing machine. Nneka couldn't contain her joy when she was told she had been employed, and Ozioma was very happy for her. Nneka resumed work the next day, and in a short while, everyone was fond of her. She surprised everyone with her skills and designs. She was promoted to chief designer in less than 6 months, and she started earning a lot of money. She moved out of Ozioma's house into her house and started saving to build her own fashion brand. Meanwhile, her siblings back at home had all finished school, but they were jobless despite the fact that they all had very good grades. After searching for jobs in their town without success, they decided to come to the city. Just like their father mocked Nneka when she was always last in class, he mocked his children for not being able to secure a job after all he had spent on their education. One day, Nneka was on her way to work when a woman called her on the street. Nneka recalled the face of the woman, but she wasn't sure where. So the woman explained to her, "I'm one of your best customers when you were still an apprentice for your master. I was sad when she told me you had left, but I'm very happy to see you now. So what are you doing now?" "Oh, I'm equally glad to meet you, ma. I'm currently saving up to start my own brand, but currently I work hard." The woman interrupted Nneka before she would finish. She opened a very expensive purse and gave it to Nneka. "Please, call me later tonight. I love your clothes back then, and I would love to invest in your intended fashion brand. Give me a call like I said, so we can meet up and discuss better." Nneka thanked the woman and went off to work. Immediately she got off work that day, she called the woman and they met at a popular restaurant. "Tell me the cost of everything you need. I would give you the money as my own part of the investment. Then later, I would call my lawyer to draft out an agreement of our terms." Nneka couldn't believe her ears. She thanked the woman so much and handed the woman a list of things she had previously written down. The woman took the list home, and the next day she called Nneka to meet her lawyer, to sign some documents and also collect the money. Some months after, Nneka had started her own fashion brand. She became a national sensation. A lot of people patronized her and she had many apprentices. Nneka became well known and a public figure. One day, she was in her office when a man requested to see her. Nneka was shocked to see that the man was one of her siblings. He went on his knees and pleaded with Nneka to employ him. He explained how he and his other siblings had been in the city for many years, but they were unable to secure a good job despite how educated and outstanding their degrees were. "I have nothing against you. If there's a department in my company where you can fit in, then I would employ you." Nneka asked him to visit the human resource department and he was employed instantly. Her siblings thanked her profusely. Then he told Nneka that their mother is very sick, and ever since Nneka left, she hadn't been herself. Nneka quickly booked a flight to Diapoto town and went to see her mother. When she entered the house, her mother was lying down very sick on the bed. Nneka knelt beside her and held her hand. "Mama, I'm sorry I left without coming back. Please forgive me." with tears streaming down her eyes.